to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Variant O'Connor.
I'm here, Kevin Wilson. How are you, man?
Oh, living the dream. Living the dream. Aren't we all?
You know? We are. You and I actually lived a piece of our dream. We met up in Rochester.
Yes,
and
we did.
Drank beers together in person.
It's true, guys. Believe it or not, Tim and I, until last Friday, had never met in person. Despite the fact that we've been doing this show for a couple years now, Tim and I had never met in person.
2 years, I think it's been. Like we've been doing this show, and we'd never met face to face. None of our libertarian events that we go to coincided, nothing like that. And then here we were. What was the name of the place?
It was
McGregor's.
McGregor's, that's the one.
Yeah, all right. Like 475 beers on tap. Like you don't get that kind of stuff here in Redneck, New York. You get like some places will have like 20, but I swear to God, that place must have had 50 beers on tap.
No, yeah, they have a great beer selection. That's why I wanted to go there. And then I got you to try a garbage plate. Did not warn you it was spicy. My bad, Tim.
Yeah. The grumpy old man in me like wants to eat a big huge plate of spicy food, but the reality is that it would have wrecked my entire weekend. It would have killed me. But I ate about half of it, and I'll tell you what, yeah. I will do garbage plates again because it was pretty cool. It was really, really cool. It was like doubled hamburger, some meat sauce, and that's where they got me was the meat sauce, right? Because that's chili powder and ground beef and I don't know, red cayenne pepper and cooked for hours. So they dumped that all over it. And then there's like macaroni and then there's like, I don't know, French fries and stuff like that. I don't know. It was awesome.
Mustard
just
on
was
there.
too spicy.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. I'll find you a milder plate next time.
All right.
But it was great to finally meet in person. And yeah, now we have lots of news to talk about. We're going to talk about some Rochester / New York State news first, and then we'll talk about the Trump thing. We'll talk about the Trump indictment, the arraignment, all that stuff. Hate to do it. We got to do it. And then maybe we'll talk about some Libertarian Party stuff.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Let's do that.
Yeah. Talk about some Libertarian Party stuff. Libertarian Party of Colorado.
What is going on with my audio? My apologies, Kevin.
Oh, are you having trouble hearing me?
No, I'm not having trouble hearing you. I'm getting 2 streams going all at once. I think I got it straightened out. I apologize, guys. We're not officially on the radio show, so it's inside baseball for you guys. But we're gonna do inside baseball on the Libertarian Party stuff.
Yeah, we sure are. But if you got all your stuff sorted out, Tim, we're gonna go in just a minute. And but of course, all you folks listening today, if you have any topics you want us to talk about besides those 3, the Rochester Casino, the Trump thing, Libertarian Party of Colorado, let us know. Leave a comment. Maybe we'll talk about it. So we'll be back.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So we're going to go in 5.
Now, an hour of clarity for exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship. Left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Variant O'Connor.
Hello, Kevin. Hello, WYSL audience. I am here.
Yep. Thank you all for listening here on WYSL, or of course on our streaming platforms as well, on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever, on Twitter, wherever you're listening. Free Solution page or the Kevin Wilson page or Tim O'Connor page. We're glad you're here. If you're listening live tonight, make sure you leave your comments. If you're listening on WYSL, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the show. And we have a few different topics tonight. We're going to talk about the whole situation with the Rochester Casino, with the Senecas. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Trump indictment. We're going to talk about the Libertarian Party of Colorado, maybe. See how far we get in the show. And if we were talking about this before the show. Tim and I had never met before last Friday. We've been doing this show forever. We'd never met. And finally got to actually meet in person in Rochester over at McGregor's. So it was a cool thing.
Yeah, like
And
475 beers on tap in that joint, man.
yeah,
They started to read the list to me, and they like say danger, and I'm like, all right, you have me at danger. Get me a pint of whatever
There you go.
danger beer is. Like, let's do that.
so
Worked out pretty well.
it was a good time. Got Tim to try a plate. Didn't warn him it was spicy, but
Oof,
nonetheless,
I did my best with it.
he tried his best with the garbage plate. I should have warned him, but
I think, Kevin, you ended up picking up the tab, so it didn't even cost me any money. It was a beautiful experience for me.
there you go. So you got the next one then.
You got it. That's a deal.
Yeah, and maybe one of these times we'll do like a meetup or something. Where
Yeah,
can actually
I was
plan
heading up to, I think, to give the whole background, I was heading up to Buffalo for a wrestling tournament to watch my kid wrestle. And, we just happened to coincide. And the venue, the hockey rink where they had the wrestling tournament in Buffalo, we don't have interesting, huge man-built structures on water around here in little old Otsego County. So it was pretty neat to see this reclaimed manufacturing area that I'm sure was sponsored by big government, but it was pretty neat all in all. Like overall, I was very happy with the venue. It was truly impressive. And I love the people in Buffalo because they will be drinking beer at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. As soon as the bar opens, people start showing up and having beers. Like that is something about Buffalo that I love. Always have loved that.
That's certainly a thing, but yeah, that's cool. Glad that all went well, but we're a political show. We should jump into the actual issues, the actual topics of the show tonight. And we'll start with the issue of the casino in Rochester. So it not a casino that's happened yet. It just kind of like broke at the end of last week that the Seneca Nation might be working towards finalizing a deal with New York State to get a casino in Rochester. And a lot of local leaders kind of freaked out about it, right? And a lot of like just average people kind of freaked out about it too.
Well,
And so now there's all sorts of rumors flying. Apparently one of the rumors is that it's actually going to be in my neighborhood. I live like North Winton Village, but there's rumors it could be in Neighborhood of the Arts, right down the road from me. So I could have like a big Seneca casino like right down at the end of my street.
wouldn't that be awesome? Like, so look, it's the old deal of three men in a room making deals that everybody like the Assembly and the Senate in New York State have authorized Kathy Hochul to negotiate on behalf of the body for Seneca, for more casino licenses and stuff like that. Now, one of the big complaints is that this seems to have like contramanded the normal procedure, right? Like, don't they normally kind of go to the stakeholders in the community and try to build like popular support?
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. And frankly, like previously there wasn't a lot of support for a casino in the area, at least among the political class. And I think actually probably among like average folks too. Just like, what is this the thing we need here? Does it make sense? And I got mixed feelings about casinos. Now I get why people are like, well, maybe that's not a thing we actually need. I understand it. I can see how they can be destructive, right? So I get a couple of the policy questions that I think are worth discussing in this is one, for something like this, what level of involvement should local governments have in this process? Like, does it make sense? Should we have the mayor of Rochester be able to like say no to this, the city council be able to say no to this, the county ledge be able to say no to this? Like, who gets to determine if a semi-private, although very heavily regulated business gets to participate in a community? And what about like, even if what percentage of people in the community get to say like, yes, I would like to have that thing here for it to be a thing that is allowed?
Well, let me ask you this, Kevin. What if you decided to open Kevin Wilson's living room casino in your house? Like, this business is so regulated that it literally literally just allows the powerful to buy licenses from the government, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that this is such a scam, right?
Right.
That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
They do not. The New York State does not allow me to just open up a legal casino in my living room. Now, I'm sure some
Mob
folks
pays
do those
better.
things, but the state will crack down on it. They'll throw you in jail.
Yeah, well, the mob pays better. The payouts at these Indian casinos and the New York State casinos is awful. So I think the mob should kind of go back into the business of running casinos. That would be it. That's
Yeah,
my suggestion.
So it'd be nicer. So I don't know about that.
I mean,
So
it's just an idea. I want to kick it around.
just an idea.
Yeah,
Tim's
just
open
an
to
idea.
that. So a couple of things to know about this is like, so the assembly hasn't quite like approved this, because again, all this has to kind of happen at like the state level first. Like the state decides if this is going to happen. The governor like negotiates on behalf of the state to like come up with like certain types of agreements. That agreement in this case got leaked, so it hasn't really moved forward in Rochester yet. It's more like they want to do this thing. They want to do it in Rochester area. It has to get through the assembly, and then the assembly will likely vote. It's not entirely clear. It seems like the assembly will likely vote based on like input from the local community.
Right.
And
Oh,
yeah, right now it's not a lot. Like we have this comment from Sam. Oop, not that one. No, maybe that later. We have this comment from Sam. It says, "Crazy take. Let the free market decide."
That's what I'm saying. Bring back the mob. The mob did great with gambling.
Tim, you're making the worst case for the free market. Just
oh,
if anyone's like
Kevin's, I mean, bring back Kevin's living room casino. Like that would
Kevin's
be
living
better.
room casino, now
Yeah.
mob free. No, I mean it's like there's a serious history of the mob in the Rochester area. But yeah,
They've got experience.
in terms of the free market stuff, yeah, like we could do that, and we could say, okay, let people do their thing. The objection to that is somewhat similar to like the objection of like legalizing drugs, though. It's that people get addicted, they can't help themselves, they lose all their money. So there's that aspect of it, and I've heard people, even like libertarians, make this argument about the New York State lottery for kind of the same reasons.
Sure, I agree that the government being in the business of peddling us our vices seems to be inappropriate, right? Like, and certainly the again, I go to the payouts of like the lottery, the New York State lottery, and the scratch off tickets and stuff like it's absolutely horrible, right? You're getting paid back 5 cents on every dollar spent or something like that. But Kevin, we're doing it for the kids, so
Right.
I'm not a guy that plays scratch offs.
Yeah.
That's everybody else's problem. Too bad for you. Don't play them because you ain't winning. No matter what myth you built up in your head about how great you are at picking scratch offs, you haven't won a nickel. You're fibbing. That's it. You know.
Yeah, and so a lot of people do that, and you know, there's also like, is it truly like an economic benefit to the community to have a casino in the area, right? Because sometimes that gets marketed, right? Like it's well, if we bring this in, it will bring in tourism. People will stay at nearby hotels. Other businesses will pop up around it. You know, again, I'm a little bit skeptical of that too. Like casinos are designed to kind of keep you there, right?
Isn't there a number of casinos in the Rochester area already? Like, isn't that part of the issue?
So the
Senecas,
the Senecas have some like in the like Niagara County area, like the Niagara Falls area and whatnot. And then there's Del Lago, just down the thruway, so like really only like 45 minutes from Rochester.
I saw that one when I drove by, and I just drove by. Like that's it. And also, I get into this when I read these articles, and everybody's going, "Hey, look at all these great jobs," and it's like, you know, a lot of times I think these people focus on the wrong things when we talk about politicians getting us great jobs, like economic opportunity and freedom to do business with your neighbor makes more jobs than anything in the history of the United States. It's the social experiment that got us here. And when we start going to like having the government we've talked about it with the Micron plans and the
Yeah.
Buffalo Billions, swindle basically. These jobs don't never materialize. These jobs are bogus, and
Yeah.
where
And
New York has lost is the ability to do business with your neighbors. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, and then in this case, I'm not aware of any like potential subsidies that would happen. Like, I don't know that New York State would be paying for the casino. It's just more they get a license to operate
Fair enough.
and some sort of like revenue sharing agreement, whatever that ends up looking like. But but in terms of the promise of jobs, it's like is this worth it? Is it good? And I do tend to err on the side of like I don't really know. It would be better for us to just kind of like see what it is. But it comes down to like who gets to decide this, right? Like, is it the individuals, the owners of the casino, and the individuals who want to patronize the casino who get to decide this? Is it the state government? Is it the local government? Who are the decision makers here? And as libertarians would say, well, of course it should be the individual decision makers. But I don't know. I mean, do you think like your local government should be the ones to decide this, or should it be New York State or you?
Well, I see New York State has already made its decision, and they've already set a pattern that I'm very uncomfortable with, right? When it comes to gaming licenses and heavily regulating any industry. Like a local community should have the right to say, hey, we don't really want any gambling, but other local communities could say, yes, we want gambling and let it grow, endemically or from that area. Not this obvious system of enriching wealthy people. I don't know. Hey guys, good news though. Kathy Hochul herself wasn't involved in the negotiations because her husband Billy is an executive of Delaware North, which runs Racino. So no conflict of interest, nothing for people to worry about. Nobody's getting paid off.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything there, it should be looked into. I don't know, but no, 100%. There's just yeah. I'm not exactly enthusiastic about it. Even me being the free market guy, I'm like I don't really want a casino. And like no kidding, like I'm generally like not like a NIMBY type person, even though my wife, when I asked my wife about it, I was like, oh yeah, see, hey, look, here's this rumor that's totally unsubstantiated that it might move down the road from us. She's like, no, absolutely not. That sounds terrible. We should protest it. And I'm like,
I can't imagine. See, that's an issue, right? Like I hate the idea, but the whole system is broken. What would it do, do you think, to your property values in your neighborhood?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on like how big the footprint is and how much like additional traffic it ends up bringing in, and how it impacts like other businesses in the area. Like I'm not exactly like, again, this is like a rumor that got posted on some news site that I'd never heard of, but like people started spreading it around like Rochester Twitter that like Neighborhood of the Arts was being looked at for like this casino, and yeah, like it's very close to my house, the neighborhood that they were talking about, and I don't know how that would impact like a highly residential area. Neighborhood of the Arts, like where they're talking about, it's a commercial area. There's like a bunch of like warehouses, new buildings that came up, so that's like in a brewery over there. Like they're talking about over by Three Heads Brewery, if you're in the Rochester area, is where I think that they were talking about, and yeah, I mean, it would bring a lot of changes to that area. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you take a look at Atlantic City, and you can see that there's poverty right up to the casinos. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
like I don't exactly think it would like enrich the neighborhood, right? Like I don't.
Right. These jobs are
Just
I don't know. Are they
in other
really
situations
well-paying jobs?
that doesn't seem to happen, and like, okay, so you're gonna do that, like how is it going to like hurt all the restaurants in the area, right? Like does it end up like hurting them? Does it bring people in and have them want to go explore and do new things in like an interesting trendy neighborhood, or is it just like you drive in, you sit in your parking, you go to the parking lot, you go to a casino, and then you leave? Is that really benefiting the neighborhood other than bringing a bunch of traffic and people to the area? And
Yeah.
so like, again, as much as I'm like pro development, as much as I'm like, yeah, like we should be able to build what we want, like I get why people are anxious about this type of thing too, about something that's going to be a big impact. It's not like a small incremental change. Like the people who are like, I want to fight a coffee shop in my neighborhood because there might not be a big enough parking lot nearby. All right, like that's
Yeah,
that seems a bit petty to me, but like the casino, yeah, like it's probably going to be a big thing. That's otherwise they wouldn't be making the investment.
yeah, it's going to be monsters. They always are. And the other thing is like at the Turning Stone, their model is like you said, keep them there. They must have 30 restaurants that all have decent, reasonably
Yeah.
priced food. It's definitely going to kind of have some, I think,
Yeah, it
some
is what it
negative
is,
impact
like
on local stuff.
yeah, I think about that, like I mean, and like the casinos that have done that type. Like, if you ever been to Turning Stone, like it's cool. They have a whole experience. They have nightclubs. They have restaurants. It's a whole thing. Like it's the concerts. It's fun. But like, has it made put Rome, New York, or Vernon, New York on the map? No, not really. It's kind of a cool thing and all, but like, what's the area around it look like? The handful of hotels. That's it. So,
Yeah. Del Lago, I guess, is mad because if you compare the amount of money they have to pay to the state to keep their casino operating versus
yeah.
what this potential casino is going to have to pay, it's guys, you should check out the numbers. It's something like 30% of Del Lago's earnings go to the state, and something like 10% of this new casino's earnings are going to go to the state, shortly to be increased to 20%. But still, they have
Right.
this huge competitive advantage when it comes to the money that they
So
make. Too.
yeah, you could. It makes sense that Del Lago would be
Yeah, don't
maybe a
bring
little
back
bit.
Kodak. Don't like grow small businesses. You know what you need? A casino, guys. That's gonna bring good jobs.
Yeah, like yeah, a lot of this feels like a distraction, and this is in the midst like we haven't even dove into like New York State like passed like a whole bunch of bills and have been kind of like not hesitant, but they haven't really like released all of the like the details of like some of these bills that got voted on. Like it's
The peasants don't deserve details.
yeah,
guys.
and so like some of the stuff that's like coming out, like it's just coming out quick. The roll calls to some of these things of some of the bills, the amendments, all this stuff. Like it's still being sorted through, but like it's already happened. Like and again, this kind of gets to the core of like why people are upset about this issues. It feels like it's just something that happened. Like there was a big discussion about it years ago. Locally, everyone decided like, that's not really what we want. And it went away. And now it seems like suddenly it's back. It passed the Senate. Like, okay. And I know it's not exactly halfway there.
Like,
it's like halfway there. Like we almost have a deal. And like, we didn't even get to weigh in on it. Like what happened with our senators here? Like, did we get represented? Was there a discussion? Why wasn't there more discussion as this was coming up for a vote?
That's the ongoing libertarian question, right? Like, why aren't we being represented when a guy that tries to offer a decent amount of representation, they gerrymander him out of his district, like John Salka, for example, was I thought John was a good guy. We still deal with this faulty premise of government first that's been so ingrained into New York State's culture that it's hard to have a good conversation with anyone who serves in a political role. But
yeah,
they gerrymander him out. He's gone. At least he listened. He'd answer my emails. He'd have conversations with me. He was a really nice guy.
That's something. All right. Well, anyway, we have to head to a break though. Thanks again for joining us here on WYSL. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon. All right. So we're out on that one.
I wanted to do that one, but I wasn't sure how much time we had left, so I ranted about Mr. Salka, whom is seriously a decent person,
Yeah, I believe it.
But yeah, like that's what comes out of casinos, right? People from all over who are now broke because they lost all their money.
Yeah, and let's say I've seen some of that happen, and we'll read his comment from Shelly. Says North Saratoga, I'm telling you, biggest homeless shelter in the area, people from everywhere. And then her talking about there's a lot of folks who lost everything betting on races in that area. Yeah, it's a thing, right? And like I get it, but like I almost see it again the same way I see like the war on drugs. Like, okay, well, we shouldn't make it illegal because that'll be more harm than good, but also like, yeah, there's destructive aspects of it.
Look, the government should just be the direct purveyor of heroin and encourage everybody to get on it, right? Like that's sort of
Yeah,
the issue with gambling.
just
It has a high percentage of creating addiction and misery. So I don't know. What did you think about Mr. Hannon's comment? I don't know if we need to.
yeah. Well, I mean,
I love
I've
that.
heard that. I don't know. There's a bunch of creepy stuff with with
With
Biden,
this,
but
look,
yeah,
it's it's clown world, man. Like that's it. I don't know what to say after we just get to weird places anymore, and
yeah.
it's real. Sean had a big show, guys, with a doctor talking about potentially tainted DNA in the mRNA shots that was not properly controlled, and a little bit of a bait and switch. You guys might want to check that out at some point. It was pretty interesting show. The guy is a legit scientist who does real sciencey things. So that's important when you have a scientist. You get sciencey
That they
stuff.
do science things. Yes.
Yeah, it's a big
That's-
deal. A lot of times that's not what happens in the world of political science. Like Fauci, for example. I still think that guy was never a scientist. He was always a bureaucrat.
And the real thing, I mean, there's the administrative scientists. Whether or not he made the right decisions, we won't get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, we should go back a second. Yeah, Facebook user. Who's this? Is this Tom?
No, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure that's
which one's
Brian
this?
LaRusso.
This is Brian. All right.
Yeah,
Gambling is such thing. We need commercials for it.
I can
Yeah.
tell people apart just by the way they frame their words and their sentences. That's my guess. It could be Brian LaRusso, could be Brian Sutton, but I think it's Brian LaRusso.
Yeah, I know. No, but I mean, casinos like there's the people who get like, who end up with like a problem, gambling, right? It's a small percentage of the population. Again, same thing with the war on drugs. Only a small percentage of people actually get like addicted to this. Most people do the thing, they have fun,
Sure.
and that's it, right? And that's like when I got to a casino, I'm terrible. So like it's like, oh cool, I lost $60 in 3 hands of blackjack. That stunk. I don't want to do this anymore.
I'm gonna go get an ice cream cone or a
Yeah.
beer.
I'm gonna go sit at the all you can eat buffet and just eat prime rib like for 3 hours. So something I used to do frequently in high school when you'd have like the lunches and it'd be like $15, or not in high school, but like immediately after.
Yeah,
All
sure.
right, we're gonna go sit and eat prime rib at Turning Stone for like hours.
Oh yeah, no, that's the fun thing about casinos. Sure, there's ways to enjoy them, absolutely. But boy, I used to go, and I decided one day I'm just like this is just not worth it. Just not worth it.
Yeah.
They have good venues. They have good like music and stuff. They have comedians. I guess there's good stuff.
That's
about
good stuff at some of them. That's what it is. They're there to entertain and to get you to depart with your money.
which they're excellent at. It's like a science. They use science to get you to part with your money.
Yeah. Okay,
All right, so when we come back, we're going to talk about Trump. They got him this time, Kevin. They got him.
They got him. Yeah, well, we'll talk about the Trump indictment. All right. It's a wild ride, folks. Wild ride. All right. 3, 2. Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Variant O'Connor.
I'm here, Kevin. And that was like a conundrum talking about big state and we want free markets. And I don't know, casinos just don't seem to meet up with that. But what we've got now is entertainment. Once again, from Clown World, Donald Trump has officially been indicted. And just about 2 hours ago, guys, he pled not guilty to 37 counts of having illegal classified, top secret, and other stuff that belongs to the deep state.
Yeah. So he was, So here's arraigned, pled not guilty. And basically, as you said, it has to do with like the documents that he had at in his personal residences after he was supposed to have turned that stuff over when he left office, right? And the argument that people were making back then were like, well, maybe it's not really secret, or he declassified them, or whatever, right? Like, or what. But what ended up actually happening is, like, the documents that they took, turns out there's some like kind of serious stuff in there, like U.S. nuclear capabilities, U.S. defensive vulnerabilities, attack plans for like a foreign country, like some pretty serious stuff. And in terms of like, was it just an accident? Like, did he not realize like the seriousness of the stuff he took? Did he realize he took it at all? Did he just forget to hand some of it back? No, he kind of got on tape and like was telling people, yeah, this is illegal, and I know it's illegal, and I am showing you this thing that is illegal for me to show you, and I didn't declassify it. And it sounds like I'm making something up, but like that's pretty much how the conversation went of him on tape.
I know, but he's such like, here's the thing that I think that people don't seem to get about Donald Trump. Like, he's kind of like, I want to say, unserious about certain things, right? Like, one of the plans that he was showing off was something that he had, a couple of military, strategists draw up for him, right? Like, let's say country A perhaps was Cuba, right? So perhaps, right? I'm just putting out some conjecture there. Like, what would we do if we were to invade Cuba? And he's like kind of holding on to that as a memento of him being president.
Right.
It's
kind of what it feels like. He just like wanted to have this thing to like feel cool, but like, it's he himself emphasized like, oh yeah, we're gonna punish people for not protecting the secrets of the United States. He wants to pursue people for violating the Presidential Records Act. He was talking about Hillary Clinton when he was talking about that stuff, but saying like people should be prosecuted to the full level of the law. And then he goes and like, I'm gonna read some like some of the exchange of like him on tape, where he goes, well, quote, senior military official, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said, I wanted to attack country A. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look, this was him. Presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This is Department of Defense. And they're like, oh, wow, cool. Look at this. Look at this, all sorts of stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah. And it's highly confidential. Like, oh, yeah. No, it's secret. It's secret. And
secret.
Yeah, and Trump's like, yeah, isn't this incredible? And then Trump goes on like, I was thinking, because we were talking about it, he wanted to attack country A, and this is done by the military. He's given to me, right? And and then the staffer says, I don't know, we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to declassify it. Yeah, figure it out. See, as president, I could have declassified it. Yeah. Now I can't, but this is still a secret. Yeah, now we have a problem. Isn't that interesting?
I know.
Like, it's so goofy. It's like here he is like talking to a writer and a publisher and a staffer, like none of whom have like the clearance to be able to see this. And we'll talk about like whether or not like the clearance, the classification is all legit. But like as it sits right now, he was not supposed to have this stuff. No. The archivists were like, hey, you have this stuff, please turn it in. You're not supposed to have this stuff. And instead of like turning it in, he had asked his like staff members and his lawyers to basically lie on his behalf and like hid it from his lawyers. Like it's like cartoonish. Like he had them like pick up boxes and move them so like the lawyer could confirm that they saw an empty room, and then we'd go to the next room, he'd move those boxes. Like it's a circus, man.
Some of it looks
this is Clown World.
Really like bad, Kevin. It looks horrible.
It's a farce. It's so goofy. And then again, this conversation, here's this illegal thing, and I know it's illegal, and I know that I've been saying that I could make this legal, but I actually can't. Here it is anyway. Like
one of the counts includes him certifying that he returned all the documents that they requested, and then they subsequently found out that he didn't return all of the documents that he requested. And guys, like, lying to the FBI is a crime. Lying to people that investigate this stuff is a crime. And this is the kind of lie. This is why they made these lies illegal, is so that you can't just wave it away, man.
Yeah, and to be fair, like there's certain types of lies that probably should be illegal. Like they're we've talked about this before. There are definitely like process crime things where like you tell a story that is like inconsistent, but not necessarily intentionally so, right? I
Right.
mean, and I think there's a difference, and people like would kind of make this argument, Trump, like, well, maybe didn't mean to do this. I'm like, no, he was on tape saying like, yeah, I want to do this illegal thing, and I know it's illegal. Like it's, yeah, like you're not supposed to lie to law enforcement officers about this type of stuff, right? Like
Well,
it's
especially
not.
the fact that he said he gave it all back. Like,
He
and
said he gave it back. He didn't do it,
he didn't give
and
it back.
my goodness, because I've seen like 10 of these comments. Biden has documents too. Okay.
He does.
Well, one,
He did.
but Biden's the president right now, so yeah, he has documents now. But
Right.
when he was vice president, he had some documents, and they ended up like in his garage, right? The difference between the Biden situation and the Trump situation is that when the archivists were like, "Hey, former vice president, we think you have this document. Can we come get it?" And they're like, and they said, "Yeah, just come and get the thing." Right. So it happened with Mike Pence too. It happens with folks kind of all the time. Stuff gets packed up. They think it's personal stuff that they can take. It isn't. They say, "We think we're missing this record. Can you turn it in?" And then they turn it in, or let them look for it in the house willingly to turn it in.
Sure.
And they don't lie about turning it in and then show it to people.
I love Trump, man. He's my hero.
Man.
It's just so look, Tucker Carlson has offered some perspective on this, Kevin, that I want to share with everybody, just so you know. And I love your reaction already.
What's Tucker gonna say? His show is wild, man. Maybe we'll talk about that after.
This day was inevitable when Trump called out the deep state war machine on February 16, 2016. So look, we as libertarians love the fact that Trump really paid a lot of lip service to the fact that there was a bunch of lies told that started at the war after 9/11, that there were no weapons of mass destruction. We loved Trump when he did that. Those were good things. That debate where he called out Jeb Bush and all these other neocons, we loved it, right? Like, people loved that. A lot of Republicans actually loved that.
Yeah.
And then now they have to prosecute him for it. This is just that moment. This is them going out of their way to ameliorate his ability to have any influence in the future. That's what Tucker said, in not so many words. And he's got a really sing-songy way of talking that I like. Like I it's just,
no, man. Well, that's why he used to get the big bucks.
2.4 million views in like 3 minutes. Like, how does that guy do that? That's crazy.
He has a following. But I mean, in terms of that, like, dude, Donald Trump didn't have to make it difficult for himself. Like, if you want to fight the deep state, first of all, he didn't do that, right? Like, let's just be upfront about that. He did not dismantle the deep state during his presidency. Sorry, Trump is a swamp creature along with the rest of them. He is also pro-war. As much as people say like he'd pay lip service to like being anti-war, like, dude bombed as many people as the rest of them. Didn't get us out of Afghanistan. Sorry, like Trump is not good on war issues. Like, as much as he like talks about it, he's not.
No,
like, his actions speak louder than words.
But what he did do a nice job of, though, and this is right, actions speak louder than words. So what he did was demonstrate fully effectively how the deep state is so invested in war that they would question some of his ideas and concepts to the ridiculous extent that they did. And he also kind of made a bunch of left-wing people come out as being very pro-military industrial complex, which hasn't really helped us at all. But
no, I mean,
at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It exposed hypocrisy. Everyone just does the opposite of whatever the other tribe is doing, right? Like, it's just negative partisanship all the way down. That bums me out. But yeah, I mean, Donald Trump certainly had the ability to end the wars quicker. He certainly had the ability to slow down drone strikes and slow down bombings and, lessen our footprint. And other than like talking about it occasionally, like his actions were not great on those things. Like he could have done a lot more, but in reality, he kind of continued the status quo. And frankly, like Biden did better on that stuff. Like, and Biden's not great. He just did better than Trump and Obama because the bar was so incredibly low.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll go with that. That's fine. Now, I want to point out something too. Like, Trump was in fact president of the United States, did in fact have the ability to declassify and make public all sorts of information. He had the ability to grant pardons to Assange and Snowden, and even take a look at that case against the Silk Road kid. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's in jail for like the rest of his life for opening up a website. And he didn't do any of that, guys, because he wanted the mainstream people in this world to like him and to vote for him. So he offered them law and order. Like Kevin was talking about how he was saying we should prosecute Hillary for her crimes with handling classified information. And yet here he is kind of like, and whatever. I don't dislike Trump.
Yeah, and like
think that we're okay.
You know, I'm sure like we can spend some time. Maybe we'll just save this for like the next radio segment, talking about should this be a crime at all? Like, and we'll talk about the Hillary Clinton thing because everyone brings up the Hillary Clinton thing. We'll talk about those, but you know, to me, in terms of like, is Trump a victim of the deep state here? Like, no, they gave him a lot of passes. Like, honestly, like they asked several times, just turn over this stuff. Like just do this thing
once.
He wasn't doing it to advance any like cool cause, right? If he was going to do that, if he was going to, you know, show people like the aliens or something, or at least the JFK papers, he could have done all that, but he didn't. He was just doing it to show his friends. He was doing it so he could show off the Kid Rock. Like,
yeah, I want it to be that. I want it to be like he's going to show off just how corrupt the state is with all these 197 documents that he has. But guys, I'm afraid that now that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if he was going to reveal something, if he was going to be a legit whistleblower, like if he was going to say, I kept these documents because our government has committed crimes and I'm showing you that the government has committed these crimes, regardless of the security classification of these things, you know what? I would defend that. I would say, okay, yeah, that's great, man. If he pulled an Edward Snowden, if he pulled a, you know, I guess Julian Assange isn't the right person, but who is it? Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the other major whistleblower that I'm trying to think of. No, not Snowden, the other one.
Chelsea Manning.
Chelsea Manning. No, yeah, that's the one. Chelsea Manning. That was the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
And so if he had done something like that, right? Like Chelsea Manning, like risked her freedom in career and everything else to reveal secret documents of the U.S. committing crimes. That is not what Donald Trump was doing. He was showing North Korean battle plans to Kid Rock because he thought it made him look cool. And it's sad. It's like, it's so pathetic. Like, do not get how people defend this guy. Like, he's not fighting for us. He's just, it's all about his own ego. It bums me out. Like, I wish he did something cooler.
Do I got time to kind of rebut that? Because I think people like Donald Trump because they see him as the antithesis of jerks like Mitch McConnell. And guys, I'm going to say something at the end of this. Jerks like Mitch McConnell, Adam Kinzinger, the Bush family, the McCains, like the warmonger neocons. But guys, I'm afraid to tell you, like, I'm afraid that he's not actually what he has presented himself as, right? Like, that's the reality. This is where Kevin and I kind of like Trump. Kevin feels very strongly that he was a bad guy. I get why people like Trump, and I want people to keep thinking about why they like Trump and remove Trump out of the equation, right? Yeah. Like, that's what I'd like to have happen.
But no, we have to head to a break for WYSL. But thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon. Maybe we just go right back in at 45, Tim, and we'll jump into the other stuff. We'll jump into should this be a crime?
Okay.
We've talked about the Trump stuff, and again, love the comments, folks, and we'll try to get to a few of these too. I want to get to a couple of these in the next segment, but talked about the Trump side of it, and we'll talk to should this be a crime? Is the FBI being inconsistent? Should Hillary also be in jail?
Yes.
Should Joe Biden?
Yes. Yes, they
Yes.
all should.
Maybe for other reasons, but right. We'll go back in 10 seconds. 5. Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today, joined by Tim the Freedom Variant O'Connor.
Hey, Kevin. So I think to kind of go into this next segment, what we're going to talk about, I have a quote that I want to put out in front of people, right? Like, how many times will people have to be reminded that legal doesn't mean free from corruption, that illegal doesn't mean immoral or unjust? So that should be a nice entry point to where you want to take this right now. Should these things that he did, are they crimes? Like, have we over criminalized everything everywhere?
Yes. And the answer is yes. And also the clear things up, like, I don't actually think like Donald Trump should go to jail or something. Like, I mean, if he could do like some community service, like generally I like it, this isn't something I think he should go to jail. He's being a moron, and there should be some consequences for being a moron. But like
the pearl clutching about nuclear secrets and stuff like that, I feel like it's just pearl clutching. He had daily briefings that are classified top secret from the CIA, from the FBI. I
don't think you should be reckless with this stuff. It is worthy of criticism to be reckless with military information if that was indeed what he's doing.
Yeah.
Should people go to jail for that thing? Should it even be illegal? Do we overclassify everything? These are also good questions. And do we overclassify stuff? Like, yeah, absolutely. Like there's so much that is like very much classified. And also like in terms of like informational security, like what happened? I don't remember the guy's name, but the guy who was like posting stuff on like gaming forums like a couple months ago, right? Like it's some random like 20-something-year-old who also wanted to look cool in front of his friends and was posting like stuff about like Ukraine.
He was posting stuff that kind of suggested that perhaps the mainstream media's narrative was inaccurate, which I'm always a fan of that stuff.
I mean, like at least that guy like came closer to like revealing information that was like of the public interest to like the public, but mostly it was also him telling his friends to try to look cool, right? Like, and that's kind of how I came down on it at the time. And Donald Trump's doing something similar here, right? Like, again, I think he's worthy of criticism, although I don't think he should go to jail for this because, like, he was just showing off this stuff to his friends. Again,
right.
If you want to do something cool, tell us about the aliens, man. Tell us about like where the alien bodies are being collected. You got the guy who's saying he knows a guy who has buddies who like have seen the alien bodies and the alien ships. Donald Trump should have told us about that stuff. Like just like posted on like Truth Social.
Yeah, he could have declassified all the JFK stuff and all the CIA stuff. He could have declassified. He had the power to declassify all sorts of information that I think that the U.S. people are entitled to. Now, what do you think about this one? And this is, I think, going to be an interesting conversation, right? I personally think that they go after Trump and convict. They absolutely should go after Brandon and Hillary to the same extent as Trump. And so that's going to go to where Donald Trump isn't a deep state actor, and he's like so arrogant that he doesn't understand that these guys do things that are corrupt but completely legal. People can be really, really, really mad about the things that Hunter Biden has done and the way he's collected money.
Yeah.
Guess what? He filed the right paperwork, man.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like Hillary Clinton was a little bit better about listening to her lawyers and knowing when to like shut up about stuff. Like man, that's all he had to do. Like
he should have had a bonfire or something, man. He just like I don't have that stuff.
And again, like the Biden stuff, like I don't think that's on the same level. Like that one, like, and again, and maybe it is, maybe he really was just taking stuff and he shouldn't have been taken. And same with Mike Pence and the others, like, but they listened to their lawyers, and when they said like turn this stuff over, they did. Or they didn't show other people like this stuff, or at least not be on tape showing other people these things you're not supposed to have, right? Like that's he was just sloppy about it. And like I'll say this about like the Hillary, like was there some inconsistency in terms of like how Hillary Clinton was treated versus Trump, and
yes.
I think like and then if you look at the Durham report, like it kind of does seem like they really gave her a pass on stuff, and then they were really fast and loose with the justification of going like way more further with an investigation of Donald Trump during the 2016 election than they really ought to have had. The evidence was fairly flimsy with that, and then with Hillary Clinton, like her, I also think again she was bad. She was doing something that did expose her correspondence that is like supposed to be protected as Secretary of State by getting a private email server, and her reason for doing that was that she was basically not wanting to work with government systems, which I kind of get. That the government systems are not great to work with, but also you have to work within that system. And it was illegal for her to do the thing that she did. And she knew that it was illegal for her to do the thing that she did. And then she tried to cover it up.
Yeah. She did plenty of illegal stuff. And I definitely dislike her more than I dislike Trump, like by about a million miles. But she's shrewder, she's sharper, and she's not, I don't know, in a way like Trump taking on the deep state in this fashion. It's going to be an interesting year or so. And I'm going to be sad because it's going to be Trump versus Biden, and Trump's going to be a felon, and we've all
gonna run from jail, and
we've all lost, guys. We've all lost. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if it like any of this stuff ends up actually like impacting them politically. I don't know. Like, it's tough to say. I think a lot of people actually don't like it. Like other than like sorry, and some folks like who might be listening might be in this thing, but like it's kind of a bubble. When you talk to like average people, like it's kind of like, oh, I don't know much about the Trump thing, but him getting arrested seems bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like that, like, and that's how like the average person kind of thinks, this guy seems bad. Seems like he was giving away military secrets. And like that is the start and end of like most people's analysis of the situation. And I'm not trying to be mean about it. It's just that most people are busy like being happy and living their lives, like not paying attention to politics. And I'm jealous of them. And that's what they're going to think of the situation.
Well,
so
Harry Sisson, Kevin, a 22-year-old TikTok influencer paid by the Democratic National Committee to spout pro-Biden propaganda, is convinced that Donald Trump was selling nuclear secrets to maybe China, maybe Russia. We don't really know. Guys, I honestly don't think that he did that. I think this was just a convenience thing and a humor thing and a memento thing. Like he's like, these are mine. This is my work product. I did this.
Yeah, like
maybe I should have declassified it.
Yeah, look, that's kind of how I think of it, and it's not exactly like innocent. It's guys, you shouldn't talk about how you're knowingly breaking the law when you're being recorded. Like, so like if Tim and I were to talk about like knowingly breaking the law while we're live streaming, that would be a bad idea.
It would be.
So you should not do that. You should not say, yes, I know this is illegal, and I'm going to do this illegal thing anyway. Like.
Did you put that up there?
No.
Okay.
But
if we go after them all equally, and this is from our friend Brian LaRusso, we could get an entirely new group to vote for. And I don't know, there's been movies about this, right? You get rid of the current boss, and then the next boss is the Who wrote a song about it. The new boss is the same as the old boss.
The new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah. And that's the way it's going to be.
That might be that. All right. Okay. So Trump's actually arrested, takes him out of the race. We get Ron DeSantis, and then we get the debate, like his peculiarities. But
it would be great for him to see him debate Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting. I'm very much not looking forward to a Joe Biden Trump debate, so maybe that would be better. And
sorry about that.
Yeah, well, you're all good, but
should we break the news about the Libertarian Party of Colorado crafting an amazing deal that will ensure liberty and freedom for every person in Colorado?
Yeah, you talk about it.
All right. So look, and guys, it's admirable what they're trying to do, but the Libertarian Party of Colorado has crafted an agreement with the Republican Party of Colorado to run pro-liberty, smaller government Republican candidates in such a way as the Libertarian Party of Colorado will not put forth candidates who you know, basically take votes from the Republican. It's guaranteed to spread freedom, Kevin. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Well, that's a bold promise for something that's not going to happen. It's yeah. I'm skeptical of this. Like, I get the sentiment, right? Like, and I'll say this, like, I came in as a Republican, and I kind of said stuff like this, like, in terms of my personal beliefs, is like, I would vote for, and I still will. I will vote for Republican or Democratic candidates who are like good on those values, right? And
Mhm.
if you have, a marginal candidate that wants to run in a race, like, does it make sense to pour a bunch of resources into a candidate who's going to run against someone who's actually good? I don't know. And that's up to the individual candidate to decide and individual committees to decide. Like, it is weird to have an agreement at the state level for this type of thing. And I'll also say that when I was chair of Monroe County Libertarian Party, we used to cross endorse. And the hope of cross endorsement was to find the most pro liberty candidates available in the races, and then also be able to like build on those relationships to like, exert pressure and like to open conversations. Exert pressure is like strong, but to open conversations with folks that we had endorsed and support in campaigns to try to like convince them to agree with us when key legislation came up. And I gotta tell you, it didn't work out as well as we like wanted, right? Like, we didn't really get, as much out of that as we would have hoped, right? Like, it didn't end up being as good of a deal for the Libertarian Party, and the membership didn't like that we did that. Like, I don't know that I don't know that I made the right move there. I felt like I was making the right move at the time. And the Libertarian Party of Colorado coming out and saying like, we are not going to run candidates if you promise that they are pro liberty. I don't know that it's going to work out the way you think it is.
I would say this to the Libertarian Party of Colorado, and within, I understand that this is well intentioned. That this, and if it is successful, I will be very happy for you guys. You will actually have built a lever, right? Like, that would be great, because I think the Libertarian Party on some level could be a lever or a weapon against the duopoly. But I think that you don't know who you're messing with when you're messing with the GOP. They will tell you what they are, and then they will be something entirely different when they get elected. They will be just mirror images of the current existing status structure that we already have. They will be this plan will allow the next Mitch McConnell to leap to fame. This plan will allow the next John McCain to leap to fame, because if we're not a viable third party and stand against this whole duopoly, that we're complicit in a way. And so
Yeah.
I want it to be the right thing to do. I want it to be right. And look, let's be honest. I'm very disgruntled with some of the Libertarian Party's failings, with Larry Sharp's ballot access, with putting William Weld on a ballot, with things like that. That these things were bad for our party and bad for our future success. So the Libertarian Party of Colorado, the Mises Caucus, they have to do things. They have to try something. But I think you don't know who you're messing with. They've already played this game. The GOP, you're not new to the GOP. The GOP has a history of being able to know how to play these games and take you right out of it. It won't matter what you think.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Be cautious.
Yeah.
I admire their effort.
Yeah. I mean, you end up like, how. Sorry, I'm gonna make some people mad, but the Conservative Party and like the Working Family Party in New York State, right? Like, that's
sure.
If you end up like that, like where 95% of the time you're not running anyone because they're close enough, you end up effectively just becoming an extension of that main party. If you put yourself in a position where you give away your biggest weapon, your ability to like run a candidate, and I know people like. And they also said, like, we won't spoil the races. Okay, but like, you need to offer that other choice. You need to do it. Like, that is your biggest threat. And the only way to move the needle, because the only thing politicians care about is like winning or losing votes. And if you can threaten to take votes away from them if they take the wrong positions, that is how the Libertarian Party can like influence elections.
Yeah.
That's it.
Every year in New York State, Gerard Cassar, who is also like a friend of mine, I've talked to him once or twice. Not a friend of mine on Facebook. He's another guy that like John Salko will answer your messages and stuff like that. But every year he runs an ad that says basically, if we vote on the conservative line, we're going to make Republicans more conservative, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked.
It doesn't matter. Vote's a vote, right? And
Yeah.
sorry, like I get the strategy, but like I don't know that it was. Maybe I don't agree with it, but anyway, we're gonna have to continue this conversation after the WYSL show. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We are done for the night on WYSL. Other folks, we're gonna keep going for a few more minutes. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great night, WYSL audience.
They are.
All right, yeah.
No, they are. The GOP's they've been winning elections and losing elections. Their goal is to raise money, right? That's what they do. That's it. They have one mission, to occasionally elect Republicans. They don't care about governance. They're a participant in the uniparty. I'm with you, man. And so I like my good conservatives, but at what point do I have to say that the conservative party has been co-opted by the GOP in New York State?
Yeah.
And that's at this point.
No, I mean that's for sure definitely a discussion worth having. Like, I mean, are they functionally like threatening enough to hold the GOP accountable when there is a substantial difference of opinion? And I don't really see any situations at all where they've been able to do that in a substantial way. The Working Families Party, for their part, has at least tried to do that, and failed, but like they tried with some of their like recent gubernatorial candidates, and but when push came to shove, it's just like, well, we're just gonna support the main candidate again, and that's the best we're gonna do.
I know. And here's another, like, the conservative party, like, in a way, there's an appeal to the, like, could libertarians and conservatives kind of co-opt the conservative party and make it a viable force to force change in and the idea has some appeal to me. I'm not going to lie. The issue is that no matter what we seem to do, we're not really able to hold the machine accountable, right? Like, Hopeful just goes into a room and says, "Hey, here's a new casino for Rochester. Congratulations, guys." Oh, but I wasn't actually at the negotiating table because, conflict of interest. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
I don't know.
And I don't know. To me though, like, the one other thing is, like, I would find it challenging to work with too many other parties in New York State, like, in part because, like, I disagree with them, right? Like, I like my conservative friends, I like my Working Families Party friends, but like, we have differing visions on what policy should look like in New York State, and conservatives and libertarians are not the same. They have different values in ways of trying to bring about those values and visions for society than we do as libertarians.
I would say that, to be fair to my conservative friends, a lot of them are basically libertarians that are looking at the GOP and seeing this disastrous mess, right? So that doesn't make me want to be a conservative. That makes me want them to realize that they're actually libertarians, and that's the philosophies that I espouse. They seem to agree with more than the religious right, more than they're all for finding bad cops and getting rid of them, but they don't realize that there's systemic problems that need to be fixed.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a handful of issues where there's some pretty serious disagreements that maybe aren't irreconcilable. There are disagreements. Brian on Facebook says conservatives are 75-80% libertarians, in my opinion. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I was a liberal. I was like, couldn't think of myself as a Republican. I could think of myself as a Democrat. Then I got to, like, kind of a Republican, but definitely on the conservative side of the things. And then it's like, oh, gays want to get married. I'm like, good, let them get married. I've been married. It sucks, like that kind of joking around about it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, shouldn't they have, should the state be involved in marriage, and should, it be a religious issue backed up by the government? And then I start to get lost in the weeds there. It's like, well, of course it should. And I'm like, well, of course I don't think it should, like, gay people have been around for a while, man.
Yeah, but just going back to the one of the main points though, in terms of like libertarian party strategy, like, again, that's the main thing. Like, if you can, like, the cross endorsement thing, like, we tried that because we thought it would be helpful to forge alliances and open doors of discussion for stuff, which had mixed results on that. Like it did open some discussions. Like there's some of that, but like in a state where you don't have fusion balloting, your only leverage is to threaten to take away their votes, right?
Right.
And what you can tell them in those races is, hey, if you don't want people voting for the libertarian candidate instead of you, co-opt their most popular positions and say you will act on them. Like that's what you do. Like that's and that the only leverage the Libertarian Party has to get that is by running candidates who are, may know that they're going to get clobbered, but the idea is that one of the major party candidates will co-opt their positions because that's the only way they're going to cobble together an effective enough coalition to be able to win.
Yeah, there's that libertarian that got elected down in Broome County. I'm sorry. The bidder kind of ran as a libertarian to keep his seat that got reelected down in Broome County. And the guy's not a libertarian at all.
No. Yeah, so like there's some cross endorsement opportunities I think like maybe weren't all that great, and gonna participate in some of those like after the fact. And I was like, man, they sold me a bill of goods. Like they said that they would vote a certain way on certain things, and when it came down to it, they didn't.
My internet is fading, or your internet is fading.
Yeah,
something. There you. Okay, you're moving again.
Yeah,
thank God.
Moving again. And so we didn't make this point during the show, but Colorado should be careful. Like again, you had made the point that they can't trust them the whole truth of their values, even through the election, much less like after the election. And the GOP is the scorpion and the scorpion and the frog story, right? Like
the scorpion and the frog. Hey, fuck you! I'm a scorpion. I'll kill us both. I don't care.
That's right. That's the summation of the story. If you don't know, it's like there's a scorpion who asked a frog to cross a river, and the frog was understandably nervous. Said, "What if you sting me?" The scorpion says, "Of course I won't sting you. We'll both drown."
We'll both drown. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but what does a scorpion do when they're partway through the river? Stings the frog.
Right in the head, kills us.
But we'll both drown. Well, it's in my nature.
Fuck you! I'm a scorpion. I sting
you. That's what it is. And again, it's what they do, because what the GOP and the Democrats and anyone who's like really seriously into politics does is they will do whatever it takes to win. And if that means stabbing you in the back and forsaking your values, if you don't have any like leverage over them, they will do it. Like that, I'm not trying to be like mean about it. That's just like what it is. They're doing whatever it takes to win.
Yeah, that's a good point, because people get caught up in the emotionality of it. I don't think that there's anything I'm saying that I'm trying to offend any person or even say like invoke any kind of emotion from you. I'm just saying they've done this before. They've played this game before. Their goal is to win elections regardless of you. Now, will they perhaps? I mean, Jared Polis claims to be a libertarian, so like this is a great battle.
Which is an interesting thing, right? Because we have like Jared Polis, which like the folks that like Reason like sort of kind of like him. Some of like the cosmopolitan libertarians are sort of like, Jared Polis is like, all right, like I'm sort of in that boat. It's like, oh, he's not libertarian. There's some things that are great, other things that stink. He's probably better than your average Democrat. But if in an election between like him and Ron DeSantis and Gary Johnson, I would still be voting for Gary Johnson. 100% of the time, it's
unless still a better honestly, option. Unless he runs with like William Weld again, and then I'm not voting. That's it. I'm done. I'm done voting. 100%. I'm not kidding.
Checking out of politics.
Honestly, if we run like a Jo Jorgensen again this year, I'll vote for her. I will. I want a better candidate. Don't get me wrong. And this is no offense to Jo. She's a beautiful person and has great libertarian principles and philosophy. But if we don't, get a better hook out there, and then if we co-opt somebody from the Uniparty, I've had it. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, we got to get someone that's got to find that right balance of someone who has like enough spark and ideology, but also like isn't totally moored to like the two-party system and all the baggage that comes with that. And that's a tough needle to thread. I think Gary Johnson got it, and then had Bill Weld as his running mate. I get what he was trying to do. I just didn't care for it. And
Gary was a good, solid, caring libertarian. And yes, Chase Oliver did break the Georgia.
He broke the Georgia Senate race. Yeah, I mean that's part of it again. And why he was able to do that is the unique circumstances of Georgia Senate elections, but by participating in that race, like he forces conversations on the issues that he wants to have. And by having those conversations and forcing candidates to respond to those positions, like it helps advance libertarian issues. Not always perfectly, but like it puts more pressure up and down the ballot to say like, hey, address this person's making a good point, address our issues, or we're not going to vote for you. We're going to vote for this other person.
Shane Hazel did a nice job down there too, I thought.
Yeah.
Props to Georgia really for having an active enough libertarian party to get candidates on the ballot and to, they got on the stage, they got on the debate stages. I thought both of them did a wonderful job. And certainly I like Shane a little bit more than I like Chase, but they both are compelling to me like that. They could kind of team up and run for president, and I'd be pretty happy with that.
It'd be an interesting combination. But all right. I don't know if there's anything else we wanted to talk about.
I had a kind of a fake news or a question for you about whether you thought it was real news or not, but because BlackRock, is it BlackRock? It's not even BlackRock, it's Blackstone, right? That private equity firm. Basically, and it's old, so you probably already heard this, but BlackRock owns.
It's BlackRock, yeah.
Yeah, it owns all of the DNA information presented to 23andMe. Is that real news or fake news? We're losing the internet.
No, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I know, like my mouth was behind the microphone. You didn't see me moving a bit, but that I think that was real news. Like I'm pretty sure that was a thing. I'm gonna have
it's
to.
Real news, man.
Yeah,
it's real. It just is like something like one more thing. They own all the cereal in the cereal aisles. They own all of the DNA. It's just amazing. Because 23andMe, you send in a DNA sample, and now it's owned by a private equity firm. And what could possibly go wrong?
Did it actually go through? Because I remember like seeing something about this, but it hadn't actually happened yet. It was just like a thing they're trying. So it finally like actually happened.
Yeah, basically they closed the deal, believe it or not, back in 2020, in April of 2020. But now it's like people are kind of joking around about it again, so it's kind of topical.
Oh, it just came back.
Cody Anderson, where you been, man? We did a whole show basically on this very issue about how what a failure of the New York State Office of Cannabis Management, and how they paid off somebody from Michigan with free licenses in the future to allow them to open licenses in central New York in the lake regions out near Rochester and the big lakes, the Finger Lakes. It was, man, I can't. You must have been in Florida, bud.
Yeah, the whole thing on that one, and I'm sure it's going to come up again. Just absolutely certain it's going to create more problems, and we're still going to be like years off from like legal dispensaries like opening up in like the Rochester and Finger Lakes region, like somehow.
Support your local neighbor, man. That's the way to do it. That's just 6 plants you guys can grow. It's legal. Don't worry about it.
That's right.
It's fine. How much weed do you need, you potheads?
I know, right? Come on, just keep it to the 6.
Totally real.
Totally real. Yeah, all right. Oh man, I totally had something else on the Trump thing too, and I forgot where. I don't want to get into it now. Maybe we'll do it next week.
Trump inspires you to talk for long periods of time.
I know. If you don't come out, like, is related to like, is this proof of law and order? Is this politicized? Like, we never got into this.
It's going to be an interesting election cycle because if Trump does actually get nominated, he's not getting nominated because people think he's a criminal. It's not that. He's getting nominated because the government is failing on so many levels and forcing so many issues down people's throats that we're begging for, like, the left is begging for a strong man, the right is begging for a strong man, and basically we're all just screwed, dude. We're a total mess.
Yeah.
They're gonna get what they want.
So optimistic.
I'm not. I'm literally not. I've spent 50 years of my life being optimistic. The last 6 have been the steady decline of, holy cow, did participation trophy culture fail miserably? Like, this is bad. This is really, really bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just one of the many ways I look at it.
Fair enough. All right. I think we're gonna call it a night, though. Thanks again for listening, folks, for the bonus show here on A Free Solution. Have a good night.